Stop being too polite. Yes, I said it. The habits you've been taught your whole life say yes. Apologize too much. Don't rock the boat are silently destroying your reputation. And no one's going to tell you. People in rooms, offices, even your social circle, they notice. They feel when you're bending over backward to be liked. And here's the kicker, it doesn't make you likable. It makes you invisible. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 7 polite habits are sabotaging your life, why they matter more than you think, and most importantly, how to stop them without turning into a jerk. Now, before we get to the list, let's clear one thing. Being polite is not bad. It is a tool, but like any tool, used wrong, it can hurt you. Imagine walking into a meeting and everyone silently dismisses your ideas. Not because you're wrong, but because you're too nice. That's the trap we're unpacking today. Politeness and respect are not the same thing. You can say all the right words, smile at everyone, never disagree, and still be overlooked, talked over, or undervalued. Good intentions aren't protection. Doing something because it's nice doesn't earn credibility. The world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards perception. Your reputation isn't built when people applaud you. It's built in the small cues, your tone, your body language, what you allow others to do to you without reaction. And yes, some of these habits feel harmless, but each one chips away at your influence, your respect, and how people actually see you. Take Sarah. She's smart, talented, the one everyone goes to for advice, but she apologizes constantly, agrees with everything, and never sets boundaries. Guess what happens? In meetings, her ideas are repeated by others as if they were their own. Socially, friends ask her for favors and forget to include her when planning events. Polite, right? Respect, almost zero. Does that sound familiar? Because most of us are guilty of at least one of these polite traps, and it's ruining how people see us. It feels awful to realize your good manners are being used against you. You're exhausted, giving your all, and still being overlooked. Reputation is social currency. People make decisions about you constantly. Hiring, promotions, trust, invitations, and your habits dictate those decisions more than you realize. Here's the scary truth. If you don't fix these habits, they compound over years. By the time you notice, you've been invisible, undervalued, and overlooked for opportunities you deserve. Start with habit number 1, the one that seems harmless, even polite, but silently signals weakness. Every time you do it, trust me, you're probably doing it right now without realizing it. Habit number 1 is over-apologizing. And the moment you stop, people will start taking you seriously, instantly. Habit number 1, over-apologizing. This one's sneaky, because it feels like you're being polite, humble, or responsible. But every time you say sorry unnecessarily, you're signaling one thing: low status. Think about it. You bump into someone, you say, sorry. That's fine. But what about saying sorry for things that aren't even your fault? You missed a meeting by 5 minutes? Sorry. Someone disagrees with you? Sorry. You forgot to reply instantly? Sorry. Do you see the pattern? Each sorry is like quietly handing someone a little piece of your power. It's subtle, but over time, people stop seeing you as confident. They see you as someone who can be walked over, someone who needs constant reassurance. And trust me, in professional and social settings alike, that perception sticks. Here's the crazy part: in American culture, especially in workplaces, over-apologizing is the fastest way to be invisible. High performers, they apologize rarely. They take accountability where it matters, but they don't flood the room with weak apologies that chip away at authority. Let's get real. Imagine you're in a meeting, you pitch an idea, and your coworker interrupts with a counterpoint. Most people immediately say something like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't explain that clearly," and they shrink. Watch how a confident person handles it. They pause, respond with clarity, and move on. No weak apology, no second guessing. Respect just went up, without saying a word about being nice. Here's a mini challenge for you. Think about the last 3 times you apologized this week. Were any of those apologies unnecessary? Chances are, at least one was. And that one is slowly training people to undervalue you. Now, this isn't about being rude. It's about recalibrating how you show confidence. Instead of saying sorry reflexively, try saying, "Thank you for pointing that out," or simply acknowledge and move on. It's a small language shift that communicates self-respect and authority. Another trick: pause before apologizing. That split second gives your brain time to ask, do I really need to apologize? Or am I just reflexively being polite? Most unnecessary apologies evaporate the moment you do this. Over-apologizing doesn't just hurt your career, it impacts your personal life too. Friends, family, even romantic partners unconsciously measure your confidence by how often you apologize for things that aren't your fault. Stop apologizing unnecessarily, and suddenly people listen, include you, and respect your boundaries. Here's the key takeaway: apologies should be meaningful, not habitual. They should reinforce accountability, not signal weakness. And the moment you stop over-apologizing, people notice. They start taking you seriously. They start treating you differently. Now, habit number 2 is just around the corner, and it's one that almost everyone does without realizing it. It feels polite, even nice, but it slowly teaches people to see you as someone they can control. Habit number 2 is always agreeing to keep the peace, and it's quietly destroying your reputation. Habit number 2 is deceptively polite. Always agreeing to keep the peace. On the surface, it feels like being cooperative, easygoing, or just nice. But here's the ugly truth: every time you agree just to avoid conflict, you're slowly erasing your influence. Think about it. How many times have you said, "Yeah, sure," or "that works," when you didn't actually agree? Maybe it was in a meeting, and maybe it was with a friend, or even a family member. You're avoiding a small conflict, but in reality, you're teaching people that your opinions don't matter. Here's the psychology behind it: humans respect boundaries and people who stand for something. When you always agree, you're essentially signaling that your thoughts and preferences are optional. And once people pick up on that, guess what happens? They start making decisions for you, overstepping limits, and treating you as less important, all because you wanted to keep the peace. Let's be honest, in American workplaces, culture often celebrates assertiveness. People don't respect endless agreement. They respect perspective, the quiet nods, the hesitant "sure, okay." Those build a reputation of being a pushover, not a team player. Imagine this scenario. Your boss proposes an idea you know won't work. Instead of speaking up, you nod politely. Later, when it fails, everyone silently blames you too, because you never asserted your insight. Your desire to avoid a tiny confrontation ends up costing your credibility. Here's a mini challenge for you. Next time someone asks for your opinion, resist the automatic "yeah, that's fine." Pause, think, respond honestly, respectfully, but firmly. Watch how the room reacts. Your voice suddenly carries weight, because people notice authenticity. And this doesn't just apply to work. Socially, always agreeing is one of the fastest ways to be taken for granted. Friends, partners, even casual acquaintances unconsciously assign more value to people who express their preferences clearly. You're not being rude, you're being seen. Pattern interrupt. If you're nodding along thinking, "But I don't want to cause drama," pause for a second. Ask yourself, is avoiding drama worth slowly erasing your identity? Because that's exactly what happens when you compromise every single time to keep things smooth. So, here's the takeaway: stop automatically agreeing just to avoid conflict. Your opinions matter, your voice matters, and the moment you start asserting yourself politely, confidently, people notice. They start respecting your perspective. They start valuing you differently. Next up, habit number 3. And this one is tricky because it's a polite habit that feels like helping others, but it actually erodes your credibility. Habit number 3 is over-explaining yourself, and it's silently telling people that you lack confidence. Habit number 3 is one most people don't even realize they're doing: over-explaining themselves. You know the type. Every thought, every decision, a tiny action comes with a long justification. I just meant, or I think because, or I was only trying to. Sound familiar? Here's the problem. Over-explaining is a subtle signal of insecurity. Every time you feel the need to justify yourself, you're subconsciously saying, "I need your approval." And when people sense that, they stop treating you as confident or competent. Instead, they see someone who needs validation, and that erodes your authority faster than you think. Think about it. In a meeting, someone asks why you chose a certain approach. Instead of a clear answer, you launch into a 10-sentence explanation with qualifiers and hedges. By the time you finish, people aren't impressed, they're exhausted. And worse, your original point is lost, buried under a pile of unnecessary reasoning. Over-explaining doesn't just hurt your credibility at work. Socially, it's even more powerful. When you over-explain decisions, preferences, or boundaries with friends, you train people to question you constantly. They start seeing you as someone who can be persuaded, negotiated with, or walked over. It feels like being nice, but it's silently sabotaging your respect. Ask yourself, how many times this week did you feel the need to explain yourself just to make someone comfortable? Chances are, at least once or twice, you over-delivered words at the cost of authority. And every time someone noticed, they might not say it aloud, but it shapes how they perceive you. Now, here's a mental shift that works wonders. Less is more. Answer clearly. State your point with confidence, and stop adding extra justification. Silence is your friend. When you pause after making a statement, you give your words weight. People start listening more carefully, not because you shouted louder, but because your presence communicates authority. Another trick: replace unnecessary explanations with simple acknowledgments. Instead of saying, "I think this is better because," and also, "I wanted to make sure," just say, "I recommend this approach." Period. Simple, confident. Notice the difference in how people react. Remember Sarah from before? She not only over-apologized, she over-explained every decision. Her ideas, once brilliant, got lost in long, weak justifications. People stopped listening, even when she had the best solutions, all because she felt the need to make everyone comfortable instead of showing confidence. Here's the takeaway: stop over-explaining. Every unnecessary justification chips away at your authority and respect. Your ideas are valuable. Don't bury them in your own words. And the moment you simplify and stand firm, people start taking you seriously, immediately. Coming up next, habit number 4. And this one is deceptively kind. It feels helpful, even generous, but it silently reduces your value and makes people take you for granted. Habit number 4 is being always available, and why scarcity is actually your secret weapon. Habit number 4 is one that feels helpful, generous, almost like a virtue. Being always available. You know the type. You answer texts immediately, pick up calls instantly, rearrange your schedule for anyone at any time. On the surface, it looks like you're dependable, right? But here's the harsh truth. Being too available quietly reduces your value. Think about it. Scarcity creates respect. When people have to wait, they start appreciating your time. When they know you have boundaries, they treat you differently. But when you're constantly on call, constantly saying yes, your time becomes invisible, and so do you. Here's a simple test. The last time someone asked for a favor, did you immediately say yes? Did they treat it as a gift or as an expectation? That's the problem. Being overly available trains people to take you for granted. And in professional settings, It signals low leverage. If your boss knows you'll drop everything anytime, your perceived value decreases fast. Imagine your friend calls you at a.m. and you answer. You feel obligated, even polite. But what does that teach them? That your time is unlimited and your priorities don't matter. It's polite, but it silently erodes respect. Now, let's shift to the psychology behind it. Human brains assign value based on scarcity. The more rare or in demand you appear, the more your presence is noticed, your ideas are listened to, and your boundaries are respected. Availability isn't about generosity, it's about perceived worth. And when you're always available, people stop valuing you. Here's the key mental shift. Stop treating your time as disposable. You don't need to be rude or mean, just intentional. Decide when you are available and stick to it. The moment you do this, people start noticing. They plan around you, they respect your time, and funny enough, they still like you, often more than before. Other trick: delay responses strategically, not to punish anyone, but to signal that your attention is valuable. Answer emails thoughtfully, earn calls when it's convenient for you, not immediately. High status people understand this intuitively. They guard their availability, and as a result, they're treated differently with more respect and seriousness. If you're nodding along thinking, "But I want to help everyone," pause for a second. Ask yourself, are you helping, or are you training people to undervalue you? Because that's exactly what happens when you make yourself constantly available. So the takeaway: stop being always available. Set boundaries. Protect your time. Make people earn your attention politely, but firmly. And the moment you do, your influence, your respect, and your reputation grow faster than you imagined. Coming up next is habit number 5. And this one is tough because it feels morally right. You've been taught to avoid it, but ignoring it quietly destroys respect. Habit number 5 is avoiding conflict at all costs. And why? Sometimes facing tension head-on is the most polite thing you can do. Habit number 5 is one of the toughest to admit: avoiding conflict at all costs. You've been taught that confrontation is bad, that it's impolite, that it's better to stay quiet and keep the peace. But here's the truth: avoiding conflict doesn't make you polite, it quietly destroys your reputation. Think about it. Every time you stay silent to dodge tension, you're sending a signal: I'll let others decide. You're teaching people they can ignore your opinions, push your boundaries, and even take advantage of you. And over time, that silence compounds. People stop consulting you, they stop trusting you, they stop respecting you. Consider your workplace. A disagreement comes up. Most people instinctively avoid it. They smile, nod, and agree outwardly, while inside, they're frustrated. That's exactly the trap. You might feel like you're being polite, but everyone notices. And in the subconscious social hierarchy, the loudest, most assertive voices rise, not because they're mean, but because they're confident enough to handle tension. Now, let's get real. Conflict isn't the enemy. Poorly handled conflict is. But the ability to face tension directly, calmly, and respectfully is one of the fastest ways to earn respect in any social or professional setting. People trust those who can handle difficult conversations without losing composure. Let me give you an example. Imagine a friend repeatedly cancels plans last minute. You've been nodding, saying it's okay to avoid a fight. One day, instead, you calmly say, "I value our time, and I'd appreciate it if we stick to our plans." Notice what happens. The relationship doesn't collapse. Your boundaries are respected. You're no longer the pushover, you're the person with clarity and confidence. Another scenario. At work, a teammate takes credit for your idea. Avoiding the confrontation might feel easier, but later, people assume you're okay with it. Standing up calmly, explaining the situation factually, without aggression, that's conflict handled correctly. And suddenly, your credibility skyrockets. If you're thinking, "But I don't want to be seen as difficult," stop. Politeness isn't about avoiding tension. True respect comes from showing you can handle it. Conflict avoided is respect lost. Here's the key takeaway. Stop avoiding conflict to be liked. Start facing it calmly, directly, and respectfully. People will begin to take you seriously. They'll trust your judgment. And most importantly, your boundaries will be clear without you ever being rude or aggressive. Next, habit number 6. And this one quietly teaches people they can control you without lifting a finger. It feels harmless, even polite, but it slowly erodes your agency. Habit 6 is letting others decide for you and why it's secretly destroying your reputation. Habit number 6 is deceptively polite. Letting others decide for you. On the surface, it feels cooperative, easygoing, even humble. But in reality, it's one of the fastest ways to lose influence, respect, and control over your own life. Think about it. How often do you defer decisions, big or small, to avoid rocking the boat? Maybe it's letting someone choose the restaurant, or agreeing with the team's plan, even when you see flaws, or even letting someone else dictate a work project you're leading. Each time you hand over your choice, you silently signal, "I don't trust my judgment." You do. Here's the psychology behind it. People subconsciously measure authority by the decisions you make. Leaders, confident individuals, even high-status peers they choose. They may seek input, yes, but at the end of the day, they make decisions and take responsibility. When you constantly defer, people stop seeing you as someone with agency. You become a passenger in your own life. Consider this scenario. Your boss asks for volunteers on a new project. You say, "Whatever you think is best." Suddenly, someone else is seen as proactive, while you fade into the background. Over time, these small decisions, or lack thereof, accumulate, shaping how people perceive your capability and confidence. And it's not just professional. Socially, letting others decide for you creates patterns where people control the narrative around you. Dinner plans, group activities, vacations, even important life choices. The more you let others steer, the more invisible you become. You might think you're being polite, easygoing, or flexible, but really, you're giving away respect and authority. Here's a mental shift that changes everything. Decide first, consult second. Form your opinion or choice internally, then present it clearly, while remaining open to input. People respect decisive individuals. They notice confidence, and the moment you stop deferring constantly, you regain control over how you're seen. Another trick: small daily decisions. Start with tiny things: what to eat, what route to take, or even minor preferences in conversations. Exercise your choice with confidence. It's like a muscle. Every time you practice, your presence and influence strengthen. If you're thinking, "But I don't want to upset anyone," pause. Politeness isn't about erasing yourself to make others comfortable. True respect comes from showing that your opinions and decisions matter just as much as anyone else's. So the takeaway: stop letting others decide for you. Own your choices, express your opinions, and step into the driver's seat of your life. People will notice. They will start taking you seriously. And the best part, you don't have to be rude or aggressive to do it. Coming up next is the final habit, and this one hits close to home for almost everyone. It feels like kindness, but it silently communicates weakness. Habit number 7 is smiling through disrespect, and why sometimes not smiling is the most polite, powerful move you can make. Habit number 7 is the one almost everyone does without realizing it: smiling through disrespect. On the surface, it feels kind, polite, or diplomatic. You think you're keeping the peace, being friendly, or avoiding awkwardness. But here's the harsh truth: when you tolerate subtle disrespect with a smile, you're silently signaling weakness. Think about it. Someone interrupts you repeatedly in a meeting, cuts you off socially, or takes credit for your work, and you smile, nod, or laugh it off. You're trying to be nice, right? But the brain sees this differently. Subconsciously, people read that smile as compliance. They sense that boundaries are negotiable, and they start walking all over you slowly, over time. Have you ever noticed that the quiet, confident people in the room rarely smile to cover tension? They remain calm, measured, and assertive. People listen. People hesitate to disrespect them. That's the difference between a polite face and a respected presence. Socially, smiling through disrespect teaches friends, family, and even romantic partners that your time, energy, and opinions are optional. You're reinforcing patterns where others take liberties with you, all while thinking you're being polite. Meanwhile, respect quietly erodes. Let's be clear, this isn't about becoming cold or unkind. It's about showing self-respect. It's about sending the message that you have limits, and those limits are not negotiable. A calm, measured response communicates authority far more than a smile that hides frustration or resentment. Here's a small exercise. Next time someone crosses a boundary, pause. Take a breath. Respond calmly, assertively, without forcing politeness. Watch how people react. The subtle shift in your energy, tone, and presence communicates more than words ever could. Imagine walking into a room where everyone treats you as someone they can't overstep. You don't have to be loud, aggressive, or confrontational. You just show up with calm confidence, and suddenly, respect is automatic. Here's the takeaway. Smiling through disrespect is a polite habit that silently undermines your authority. Stop tolerating micro disrespects. Set boundaries calmly, firmly, and respectfully. Your reputation will transform faster than you imagine, and without ever being rude. Coming up next, we're going to fix all 7 habits transforming polite, but invisible behaviors into confidence, respect, and real influence. I'll show you how to reclaim authority without ever being aggressive or rude. Now that we've gone through all 7 habits that quietly destroy your reputation, it's time to flip the script. How do you transform polite, but invisible behaviors into confidence, respect, and real influence? This is your reputation repair framework. Step 1. Stop unnecessary apologies. Apologies are for accountability, not reflexive politeness. Before you say, sorry, pause and ask yourself, is this my responsibility? If not, replace it with acknowledgement or gratitude. For example, instead of saying, sorry I'm late, try, thanks for waiting. It communicates awareness without lowering your status. Step 2. Stop agreeing just to keep the peace. Your opinions matter. Express them clearly, calmly, and respectfully. Disagree when necessary. Not to start conflict, but to establish that your voice carries weight. People respect those who have boundaries and stand for something. Step 3. Over-explaining. Keep it simple. Make your point. Back it with facts if needed, and then stop. The pause after your statement gives it authority. Less explanation is equal to more confidence. Your words now carry power instead of doubt. Step 4. Availability. Protect your time. Respond thoughtfully, not instantly. Set clear boundaries. Scarcity creates value. People start respecting you more when they know your attention is earned, not given away freely. Step 5. Conflict avoidance. Face tension calmly and directly. Address issues respectfully, without aggression. This is not rudeness, it's leadership. People naturally respect those who can navigate difficult conversations without losing composure. Step 6. Reclaim decision-making. Make choices confidently. Consult when appropriate, but don't defer automatically. Decisiveness communicates authority. Even small daily decisions help train others to see you as someone in control, not a passenger in your own life. Step 7. Stop smiling through disrespect. Acknowledge micro-boundary violations calmly, assertively, without losing composure. Respect isn't about being liked. It's about being valued. Your presence communicates authority when you set limits with confidence. If you implement these steps consistently, you don't just fix your reputation, you upgrade it. Polite doesn't mean invisible anymore. Confidence doesn't mean aggressive. You become someone people notice, listen to, and include in decisions. Here's the big secret. It's not about changing who you are. It's about changing how you show up. Every small shift, less apology, clearer boundaries, confident decisions compounds over time. People start taking you seriously. Opportunities start coming to you. And respect, which was always out of reach, becomes automatic. Now, before we wrap up, there's one final truth that most people never hear: the overarching principle behind all 7 habits. It's subtle, but if you internalize it, your transformation will be complete. Coming up next, the final truth, and a soft closing thought that will lock this change into your mindset for good. Here's the final truth, the one that ties all 7 habits together. Politeness is a tool, not a personality. Being polite doesn't earn respect. Being strategic, confident, and self-aware does. All 7 habits we covered aren't about being bad or rude. They're about how your behavior signals your value to the world. Think about it. Every unnecessary apology, every moment you agree to avoid conflict, every time you let someone decide for you, every smile that hides disrespect, they silently teach people how to treat you. And when you fix these habits, you're not changing who you are. You're changing how people perceive you, and that changes your opportunities, your relationships, and your influence. Here's what most people never realize: respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated. And the small, consistent shifts you make today will compound over weeks, months, and years. You don't need to be louder, meaner, or aggressive. You just need to show up differently. So, where do you start? Begin with one habit. Maybe it's over-apologizing. Maybe it's letting others decide for you. Watch your behavior closely. Pause before reacting. Make intentional choices. Each adjustment reinforces your presence, and over time, the invisible walls holding you back start to crumble. And here's a truth that will stick with you. The moment you reclaim your authority, people notice. They listen, they respect, they value your time, your ideas, and your presence. Politeness becomes your ally instead of your trap. Now, I'm not going to ask you to like, comment, or subscribe. That's not why you're here. The real action is in what you do next. Reflect on these habits. Pick one to change today. Start small. Consistency matters more than intensity. And when you do, you'll start seeing shifts, subtle at first, but undeniable over time. You're not rude. You're evolving. You're showing up with clarity, confidence, and boundaries. And that is the ultimate form of respect. Respect isn't demanded. It's demonstrated. Start demonstrating yours today.